With last month, we are focusing on all things Pride. And we are hosting a pizza and posters session May 28th for personal use, as well as creating a library of signs here at the UU Amherst for people to take with them, as well as to use for the Pride Parade float that we are doing on June 1st. And everyone here is personally invited to march with us on June 1st. If you want to carpool with us, you have to show up at this church at 8 a.m. or meet us at Buff State at 9. We are having a pre-decorating of the float on Saturday, May 31st. And also in line with our focus on Pride, we are opening in June, the same day as Firewall in the afternoon, the Rainbow Cafe from 1 to 4. It is going to be a relaxing and comfortable, safe space for LGBTQ plus community and their allies to come and relax, to have conversation, to play games, or just to sit. And we are planning to do this every third Saturday, after the same Saturday as Firewall in the afternoon, and share this information with your friends. It's open to the community. And also a message from Peggy from GLOW. There is an invitation from the Pride community there to come march on June 14th for their Pride Parade.
And that's Batavia.
And that's Batavia, yes.
Thank you. So last meeting you voted on your key issues. I gave you about 30, and you added a few. But just to let you know, the top 3 issues based on your votes would still count. Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare, then Project 2025, and then immigration and refugees. There were a few others that popped up as being really important. Fighting the oligarchy, I guess that'll go on for years. Women controlling their own body, and cuts to all of the services that we have depended on, like the national parks, USAID, the NIH, and on and on. So we are listening to you, and it is appropriate. Our speaker today will talk about some of our biggest burning issues. So next, I'm going to call up from Organize for Action, Darby McCubbin.
Good morning. Most of you know Organize for Action as the postcard group. I think many of you have written with us in the past. Our main focus at Organize for Action is to get Democrats or progressives elected up and down the ballot all over the country, from Congress to school board. So that is our primary goal. And instead of phone banking or texting, we do voter outreach through postcards. And there are a couple different ways that you can do that. One is that we offer weekly opportunities to write postcards at home. And then we also have a monthly in-person postcard writing event at Dashes on Hurdle. And that's the next one. So it's one of the things I wanted to tell you about. The next one is this coming Tuesday from 2 to 4. And it's upstairs. They have a big community area there. We get about 100 people showing up to that. It's become a very popular event. If you wanted to write at home, and you may not know this, you have to be on our email list. And because you have to order the packets through the email. There's a link in that email to order from. And the way to sign up to get on that email list is to go to our website, which is another thing most of you don't know about. We have a new website. There are cards out on the information table. They're little ones that look like this, but that's got the URL. It's just Organized for Action, WNY. That'll get you there, .org. And there's a lot on that website, including an events page. So if you would like us to promote an event that you're holding, you can send us that information, again, through the website, and we'll put it on the website, and it'll be in the email, the weekly email that we send out. The other thing that's on the website is an actions page. Every week, we put together 3 to 4 specific, timely actions that you can do on your own, again, in the email and on the website. And they're very quick, they're easy. We provide scripts. We try to make it as easy as possible, so there's no excuse not to do them. But back to what's the burning issue, I think some people are wondering what kinds of campaigns are we doing now if the midterms aren't until next year? Why is it important to keep at it now? And the reason is, if you think about why did we lose in November? There are a number of reasons, right? But one of them was apathy on our side. And so between now and the midterms, we have to motivate a voter base. We have to deal with that apathy. And for a lot of people, all of the nonsense that's happening now isn't going to affect them right away. It's going to take some effort to get them to wake up and understand what's going on and why. One of the ways to end it is to vote these people out. So the campaigns that we're doing are voter registration campaigns, some of them, where the message is issue-based. They're short scripts, but they're issue-based to make people understand that they should be registering and voting. And then we're also writing to registered voters who just don't vote. Again, waking them up, trying to make them understand why it's important. They're all different kinds of campaigns, all different kinds of scripts. We try to switch it up every week. The focus for us now is the states we're focused on are Virginia, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. The reason is that Virginia and New Jersey have off-year elections. So this year, they're electing governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and all members of their state assembly, whatever they call their House of Delegates, what we call our state assembly. So that's 100 positions in Virginia, 80 positions in New Jersey. And the primaries will be next month. So by the time after next month, we'll actually have specific candidates to support as well. But in the meantime, we're just trying to get people to get out and vote. New Jersey shifted really far right in November. So people say, oh, New Jersey, that's a blue state. We don't have to worry about them. No, not true. Not true. In Pennsylvania, the reason we're focused on Pennsylvania is because they have 3 really important Supreme Court elections this year. Right now, they have a majority liberal Supreme Court, majority liberal Supreme Court, but the Republicans are all over this. They're trying to shift it to conservative. I think I'm done. So anyway, you can if you sign up today, just go to the website, put your email in there. You will get the email tomorrow morning. They go out every Sunday morning. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry to be such a stickler for time. True confession, my attention span is about 5 minutes, so that's all you get. Is Marie Evans here? I thought I saw her. Marie, come on up. Marie is going to speak to us about the Amherst Little Free Pantry.
Good morning. I'm going to tell you about Amherst Little Free Pantry. It's an independent 501c3 nonprofit located in the portico right here at UU Amherst, just over by the driveway. It is open 24/7. It's self-serve, no questions asked. Volunteers restock once a day, and the shelves are almost always empty when they arrive. We offer cereal, oatmeal, shelf-stable milk, juice, coffee, tea, hot cocoa, peanut butter and jelly, granola bars, pasta and sauce, mac and cheese, Chef Boyardee products, rice pilaf, instant potatoes, soup, canned goods like fruits and vegetables, toothbrushes, toothpaste, floss, feminine hygiene products, toilet paper, and laundry detergent on a daily basis. And when they are donated, we also offer shampoo, conditioner, body lotion, diapers, and pet food, which is very popular. People are constantly asking for that. The in-kind donations can be brought directly to the pantry. They can be deposited in the clear plastic tote by the entry door in the back there, or you can bring them and put them in designated containers at events like Firewall. And there is a wish list available, which I will put out on the table out front. And financial contributions are also accepted. So thank you very much.
We've seen the need increase dramatically as the price of groceries and everything goes up. So if you are so inclined to bring some canned goods or boxed items at the next Firewall meeting, please do so. That would be very helpful. Our next speaker is from the Underground Book Club, Debbie Lysing.
Hi, good morning. I'm Debbie Lysing from the Underground Book Club. The Underground Book Club is a club for like-minded women in our community. We meet once a month at the Newstead Public Library to exchange ideas and opinions on our current book selections, but also to share information on current events and to give each other hope in this time. Our burning issue is mental health. A lot of people have been sitting home wanting to throw stuff at their TVs. And we live in a very red community, so a lot of people just didn't get out. So our thing meets at noon to 2 o'clock on a Thursday at the end of every month. And please contact Stacy at nittygirl@hotmail.com before attending your first meeting, and we have flyers out there. This is a private book club of like-minded women in the community and not associated with the library. We were started by Stacy, an employee of the library, and after several conversations with visitors, she saw a need. Our first meeting was in January, right after the inaugural, and that's when we got started. We're getting to know each other, and it's a blessing to be surrounded by friends and in a very red district. It has improved my life immensely. Our members have joined other groups to rally, to call. We've done in-person protests at the congressman's office. We've done rallies downtown. We have done a lot of calling our representatives and writing letters and reading books, of course. And during the month, we sometimes have other things to share with one another, so we email as a group. Basically, we've become friends, and we are trying to work to make people more acceptable to each other and accessible. It's just a friendlier atmosphere, and we're trying to add numbers to let people know that we're there and they can come and sit and relax a little bit and talk about things and figure out what they can do in this time. So as I said, for more information, or if you'd like to join us, please contact Stacy by email at nittygirl@hotmail.com. That's KNITTYGIRL@hotmail.com. And we have flyers on the table. So, thank you very much. How much time did I leave?
You were good. Oh, wait, this might be yours.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay. Now from Citizens for Regional Transit and the East Side Parkway Coalition is Doug Funky.
Hi, as Diane said, I'm representing two organizations, Citizens for Regional Transit. Our focus is on improving public transportation and particularly extending the light rail system in accordance with the original plan, which was a 46-mile system. We've got 6 so far, so we're working on that. The other organization is East Side Parkways Coalition. We are focused on trying to stop the DOT from rebuilding, spending $1.5 billion to rebuild the Kensington Expressway, putting it in a tunnel. It's only 3/4 of a mile that goes in the tunnel. The rest of it doesn't change at all. And it actually would be worse because it will concentrate pollution out the ends of that. So anyway, there's lots of literature on the back and so forth. So the question is, what should you do? In the Citizen Regional Transit, there's a public meeting that we are holding this Wednesday at UB. There's a flyer out on the table. You can take a picture of it. It has the information. We've got a couple of speakers from the NFTA and a couple of UB speakers. So we're going to get an update on the project, and that's this Wednesday. Also on the table is a sheet here with lots of actions that you can do in terms of the Humboldt Parkway, restoring the Humboldt Parkway. There's addresses and letters to write and, phone calls to make and so forth. If you're in the city, there's some city people, but also the governor and state legislators. So take a look at this flyer. It's on the table and follow the actions there. And what else do I have? Okay. Oh, here it is. So I also want to mention we've got some yard signs here for both organizations. Get one. I got a whole bunch of the Extend Metro ones, and I got a sign up for the other ones. There's a sheet there. Sign up. Get a yard sign. Put it in your sign. I'll be in the back here, so if anybody wants to talk more about it, but come and get a yard sign. Put it in your yard for both of the actions, and help us make this happen. And also, I just mentioned we have T-shirts for the Restore Humboldt Parkway. I got sign up for T-shirts. I only have the one that I wore today, but we got lots of them, so you can sign up on the sheet on the table in the back. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Hey, you guys are really good at keeping it concise because we have a lot of speakers. The Overpass Group, Mimi? Oh, there you are.
I'll be real quick. One of the things I found frustrating when we do our big rallies is how little media attention it gets. And so I was trying to come up with ways, how do we reach more people? And then I saw another state was doing overpass protests. And we do it every other Friday from 4 to 6 on the Cleveland Drive overpass over the 190 right by the big blue water tower. Traffic really bogs down. You reach thousands of people who go through, and you get tons of cheers and thumbs up, a few not thumbs up, but mostly it's cheers. And think of the reach that we have because the media really isn't on our side, it feels like. So if you'd like to join us, the next one is this coming Friday, 4 to 6. There's real easy parking right at Lunetta's. It's a lovely group, and I think that's been the silver lining in all of this is getting to meet so many wonderful, like-minded, compassionate people. So please join us.
That actually sounds like a lot of fun. Okay. Elbows up for Canada. Kate Powers.
Hello, I'm here to talk about Canada, eh? I was one of the organizers of the April 2nd Elbows Up for Canada protest that we had at the Peace Bridge. That was to stand in solidarity with our Canadian neighbors. This is an economic issue for Western New York and for Fort Erie and Niagara Falls. It is a geopolitical issue because the President of the United States is threatening to invade our most steadfast ally and annex Canada. As Prime Minister Carney said, it's not for sale, it's not available, right? And it is a friends and family issue because our neighbors are hurt and they are scared and they are afraid to come across the bridges, right? We all know, we're back and forth across those bridges all the time. So what has happened since April 2nd is we are now part of a coalition of organizations from, y'all, Skagway, Alaska to Burlington, Vermont. So save this date, July 5th. There's going to be an Elbows Up for Canada event that runs the entire length of the longest shared border in the world. Okay? We have, as I say, the only state that has not yet joined in is Maine. So we're working on what's the matter with you, Maine? Get on it. But all across the country, Standpoint, Idaho, people. Standpoint, Idaho is involved. So what we need from you is, first of all, to show up on July 5th. We're going to have two events in Western New York. One is going to be at the Peace Bridge. The other one's going to be at the Rainbow Bridge. There will be more details about that available both on the Facebook groups for Organizing for Western New York 3.5, and Good Neighbors, right? All of those groups. Yes. Yep. So all of those groups. Also, if you can't remember all that, we have a website that my talented husband has built called elbowsupforcanada.us. And so all the details will be there. So show up, spread the word about those events, and then if you want to help organize or put that together on the day, see Ted or myself. Cool. That's all I got. Thank you.
I will post all of these actions on the Blue Sky site for Firewall. And that's on Blue Sky, it's Firewall 451, if you think Fahrenheit 451. If you grab a business card on the way out, there's a QR code that will take you right to the Blue Sky site. So I will encourage you all to show up for as many of these events as possible. Now I'm going to call up Kathleen King from Good Neighbors, who has an announcement, and she will announce our guest speaker. Did I get the name wrong? No. Oh, there was a quizzical look.
I thought Mr. Kennedy's group was going to go before me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You want to do that?
Yeah, that's,
Yep.
I'm sorry. Jumped ahead, I crossed it out, and then, with apologies, our next speaker is Adam Fogel. He is with Congressman Tim Kennedy, and he's going to speak briefly about what they're doing.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. My name's Adam Fogel. I'm Congressman Kennedy's Chief of Staff. Today I am wearing the hat of the Congressman's campaign manager. We have one burning issue that I want to address today, and that is saving our democracy. That's winning back the House of Representatives to hold this president accountable, this lawless administration. We need to hold them accountable, and the only way that we can hold them accountable is by holding the gavel in the House of Representatives in the United States Senate, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about today and the actions that we're taking to do that. So you will find 2 flyers out on the table. The first flyer is a calendar of events. We're just getting started. This is the first iteration of this flyer. You'll see this many more times over the summer with more and more dates that we're organizing, but this is us just getting started. And then you'll see this flyer, join the movement, and this tells you the action that you can take to solve this burning issue of taking back the House. What's the plan? What can I do? And where do I sign up? What we're doing is building a volunteer network right here in Western New York. Thousands of people are going to join this movement today, tomorrow, and over the next few months in 2025. And what we're going to do once we establish this group of thousands of volunteers in Western New York is deploy those volunteers in places that they can make the most impact, both this year in 2025, to make sure that in places right here like in Amherst that the MAGA Republicans don't take over our town, which is what they're trying to do here. And in places like Cheektowaga, places like West Seneca, places all across Western New York, we want to make sure that our volunteers know about opportunities where they can get involved on campaigns, phone banking, letter writing, door-to-door canvassing, volunteering in campaign offices. And so if you sign up, use this QR code, or you go to our website, kennedyforuscongress.com, and go to join us and enter in your name and your email address, we'll make sure this year you know about opportunities where you can get involved in the community. Then next year, when it's a congressional election year, we're going to be a clearinghouse for volunteer opportunities, not just in Western New York, not just in the 26th congressional district and the surrounding congressional districts, but all across the country. When the DCCC puts out an alert that we need you to make phone calls into a California district or into New Hampshire or into Florida or wherever, you will be the first to know about those alerts. You'll be the first to know about how you can get involved if you want to go somewhere, if you want to volunteer locally, if you want to sit at home and phone bank. We'll make sure you're aware about all of those opportunities. Congressman Kennedy is in leadership on the DCCC, the Democratic Campaign Committee, where he is a co-chair of the Labor Committee. Just last week in Washington, D.C., he worked with his colleagues to raise $1 million for the DCCC, working with labor unions. We need resources and we need boots on the ground here in Western New York and across the country. And Congressman Kennedy is leading that effort locally to make sure that we can win nationally. We need to make Hakeem Jeffries the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Because that's how we hold this administration accountable. That's how we hold this lawless president accountable that is violating the Constitution every single day, and it's up to us to take our country back, to take our government back. I saw the priorities that this group has. Those are our priorities. Your priorities are our priorities. We need to make sure we protect Medicaid. We need to protect Social Security. We need to make sure they get our hands off of those services that Randy's going to talk about in just a moment. Because if we are not unified, if we're not working together, we can't win. And we need to win this November in our local races, and we need to win next November and take back the Congress of the United States, and we're here to work with you to do that. So please sign up. I'm going to send you this file so you can post it up on your Blue Sky, and take more. These are all out on the table. Take more than you think you need, because we want people to come to these events, but we want you to talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends. These are going to be organizing meetings like this where we might have 50 people, 100 people, 200 people, but you can replicate that in your living room. You can replicate that at your 4th of July party with your friends and your neighbors. And so we need to be a network that just goes beyond these rooms and these convenings. And, you know, talk to your friends. You're saying one of the earlier groups, Republicans don't want to join. There are disaffected Republicans out there, believe me. There are people who are just so tired of what's going on. They might have an R on their voter registration, but I'll tell you, they're sick and tired too. Talk to them, tell them about these events. We're trying to build a big tent in the Democratic Party so we can take back our country. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
I want to say a special thank you to Adam, who came from a long distance to be here with us, and we hope you will return as a guest speaker to really flush out a lot of this stuff, because you seem very knowledgeable. Last but certainly not least, Kathleen King, who is here with Good Neighbors, and she has a couple of announcements, and then she will introduce our guest speaker for today.
Well, hi. Adam took a lot of my fire away because our burning issue is electoral volunteerism. That's what we're talking about today. And all of what he said was said much better than I can say it, for sure. But my burning issue is to get you fired up to be volunteers in your local politics. Yes, the national thing is very important. Flipping Congress is, you know, that's my heart. Getting rid of Nick Langworthy is really where my entire focus is. Claudia Tenney is a second to me, but either one can go, and that's for sure. But what I want you to focus on is local politics. Local politics is where your voice is heard. It's, you know, important. The people who are on your boards are the people that will listen to you, like that your vote matters very much. They don't get a lot of votes, so your vote is a big one, and they set the stage for everything else. 2025, this off-year election, is difficult to get voters out there, but it sets the table, as Adam says, for 2026 and flipping Congress. It sets the table for the presidential election and to get us, you know, a president that actually has a moral center. That would be lovely, right? So we need to get people out to vote locally. The national issues are glamorous. The local issues are grunt work. And it's all about door knocking. None of my script works, so just forgive me. What I'm trying to encourage you to do is to get out of your comfort zone just a little bit. We're all political activists. We all do stuff. We all do our 5 calls. We all do, you know, the emailing. We go to the rallies. We do the things, and we're really excited to get on the news. I'm asking you to do the things that don't get on the news, the things that really, really matter. Getting out there and door knocking, number 1. Is it a pain in the ass? Absolutely. But it needs to be done, and I understand that, you know, lots and lots of people are confrontationally adverse. They're worried they're going to knock on a door of some idiot and who's going to insult them. Trust me, you will not melt into a puddle on the floor. You will be okay, and it will make you stronger. You will think that guy's just a jerk. You turn around, you build up your spine, and now you've got bragging rights. You know, you get to go tell that story about this jerk in that house and how you got the next person to vote. You know, it's your passion, face to face, that drives the next person. So I want you to think about volunteering and how to do that. I also want to tell you that I told Jeremy Zellner face to face that he was a fool. That he was a fool for not capturing all the energy of all the activists that are out there, and that he needed, 1, to come to Firewall and talk to us, but he also, he needs volunteers. He needs them desperately in all of the races. So this is the way that you get it, but don't make me look like a liar or an idiot. You know, volunteer, do something, you know, just get out there and do something. And even if you can't door knock, if that's not something that you can do, because it is hard, you know, I grant you that. There are the phone banking, which a lot of times you can do it at home. There's, writing, there's cleaning the office, there's everything that you can think of that you would need to campaign. Somebody needs that to campaign. Sometimes it's, babysitting. It can be anything. So make yourself available, and even if you can't door knock, make yourself available to do something. Even if it's, an hour a month. Everything can help. I do have materials. So let's see. This is from the Erie County Dems. This is particularly about Sean Ryan, but it does have some information there about just volunteering in general. This is something I made up for people that might be a little bit shy about volunteering and you really don't know what to do. It's kind of a little bit of do's and don'ts. There are some links to the Erie County Dems. If you aren't in the local districts, I have pages about all the candidates for Erie County in 2025 in all of the towns. So that's something, see me about that. There are also, I wanted to say that the very, very best way to find your candidate is through your county Democratic Committee. They know who needs help. They know every person, every seat that's open and every person that's running. Or if they don't, you need a different committee chair. But they do. So that's the people that you contact. There's some information there. And you can also find it in your website. We will follow up with Good Neighbors email, which will have a lot of the information as well. So get out there and volunteer. I'm just saying it. All right. All right, so I'm now going to introduce the Commissioner for Senior Services for Erie County, Randy Hoak. He's been involved in taking care of senior citizens for decades, actually. He graduated from Canisius College studying gerontology and psychology. He put that education into work at adult daycare, long-term care, senior center, AARP New York. So he has a lot of experience. He's been an advocate for livable communities. He brought a wealth of experience and compassion to his current and his past position, which is Commissioner of Senior Services. Please welcome Randy Hoak.
Thank you, Kathleen. It's great to be here, and it's great to hear about everything that's going on. I've learned a lot in the past half hour or so. I'm going to talk today about Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. I want to spend some time talking about the Older Americans Act and the funding that brings to senior services programming in our community, and perhaps most importantly, how they all work together. I'm going to take a little bit of time to share how I ended up where I am, share some of the experiences that have informed my outlook on senior services. 29 years ago, I graduated from high school, and I turned 18 that summer, and I took the very first steps in my avocational and vocational calling. I joined the Hamburg Democratic Committee, and I also started a part-time seasonal job at the Hamburg Adult Day Program. If you have questions, and if we have time later, we can talk about my involvement in the Democratic Committee. But that job at the Adult Day Program really changed the trajectory of my professional life. If you're not familiar with Adult Day, folks that may have dementia, or they may have other cognitive impairments or physical impairments that live at home with a caregiver, come to a place during the day for a couple of reasons: for socialization and to give their caregivers a break. And one of my jobs there was to greet people as they came in, help them in the wintertime, take their boots off, put their shoes on. But that put me in a spot where I saw the state of the caregivers when they dropped off their loved ones. And when they dropped off their loved ones, they were They were tired. They were all tired. Some were sad. Some were angry. They were often frustrated. We would have breakfast with their loved ones. We would do activities. We'd take field trips. We'd be with them for 4, 6, or 8 hours. And then they would go home well-fed and tired. And the caregivers returned to pick them up, and they looked completely different. You know, they had a break. They were able to go out to lunch with their friends. They were able to go shopping. They were able to attend to their own health needs. And I saw right then and there the difference. So I grew up watching ER on Thursday nights. Everybody remember must-see TV, right? And I thought I wanted to be a doctor, but this became clear that this is a higher impact and wise investment of the scarce resources we have to address these issues in older adults. So from there, as Kathleen mentioned, I worked at a senior center. I worked at the Erie County Home, which was out on Walden, the largest long-term care facility in upstate New York, 586 beds at the time. And I came to some realizations there. It was a tough place to work. We had great staff. We had a third of our population under the age of 65, many with chronic conditions. And I saw that while many of these people had their needs met and they were being taken care of, there's a better way to do things. The Berger Commission at the time implemented a policy that we needed to reduce the number of long-term and hospital beds by 1,000 beds in Western New York. So shortly after that, the Erie County Home, ECMC, made the decision to close it, move it closer to the Grider Street campus. And at that time, I had become acquainted with a candidate for county executive, Mark Polenkars, and the team that got him elected in 2011. And knowing that, you know, my job out in Walden and there's another job on Grider Street, they weren't going to keep us both. So getting to know them when the county executive came into office, I applied to be part of Erie County government, and I started in the department in a supervisory position and eventually became commissioner. At that time, the Affordable Care Act was beginning to be implemented. And it became clear that the framework allowed for opportunities for community-based organizations like departments of senior services, adult day programs, Meals on Wheels providers, the not-for-profits that do great work in our community, like and government organizations like the town of Amherst, like Schiller Park in the city of Buffalo, West Side Community Services, that they needed to play a key role in what healthcare was going to look like. Shortly after that, New York State implemented a Medicaid redesign, which I would say the work that we did here in Erie County Senior Services informed what that looked like. We were able to come up with a pilot program where we took our case managers, embedded them in nursing homes and emergency rooms, working with their discharge planners to make sure that people didn't go to nursing homes if they didn't need to. And often there was just one small barrier that was in the way of them getting home. Sometimes it was simply because the doorway into their bathroom wasn't wide enough for their wheelchair to get into. Other folks may have had 1 or 2 steps that they had to navigate to get into their house. So these folks were going into nursing homes, costing Medicaid thousands and thousands of dollars a month when they could be home with just a little bit of resources to their situation, saving Medicaid. So in that pilot project, we were saving, just with a handful of cases here in Western New York, we were saving Medicaid $1 million a year. So, you know, and the Affordable Care Act continued. These incentives to community-based organizations continued, and many of them never would have happened if it wasn't for the Older Americans Act funding that comes to communities through their Office for Aging, and here in Erie County it's Senior Services, as well as our partners that also use funding from the federal government, state government, community development block grant funds to carry out their missions. My point here is these are all connected. At the same time, now we're hearing members of Congress saying, don't worry, we are going to protect traditional Medicaid. Traditional Medicaid didn't work, and New York State and many states throughout the union have gone well beyond to bring efficiencies through these partnerships to keep people in their homes, in their communities, where they are much happier and cost these programs much less. The Department of Senior Services, among the things that we do, we help coordinate and fund the home-delivered meals programs in Erie County. That's Meals on Wheels, Kenton Meals, Amherst Meals on Wheels, the congregate dining meals, so the senior lunch programs. We do evidence-based health promotion. So we give people the skills and the tools that they need to manage their chronic conditions, which also reduces the burden on Medicaid and other government programs. We have volunteer programs, we have a transportation program, we have a case management network throughout Erie County. We assist with HEAP, benefits counseling, and health insurance counseling. All of these programs are on the chopping block in one form or another. And if these programs aren't directly targeted, our partners who help us carry out these programs are being directly targeted. A cut to community development block grant funds will decimate small nonprofits in our community. That's a funding that keeps the lights on for those programs, so their case managers have an office and a place to meet with members of the community, so our vans have a place to be parked and drivers that can drive folks to their medical appointments. I just want to share briefly, as Kathleen mentioned, this is my second time around as Commissioner of Senior Services. In between this run and the last run, I worked for AARP New York, where I was the Associate State Director and did a lot of advocacy and organizing work in the western half of upstate New York. I'm grateful for that time because it gave me some skills that we really need to put to use now. Folks, as many speakers have said, have become apathetic and are looking for something to do. One of the things that I'm working on with Kathleen is really informed by my time as the supervisor of the town of Hamburg. During the pandemic, I decided to run for office. My job had changed a little bit, and there was this person who decided to run for town supervisor that I was not going to stand for that. Because I was involved in the Hamburg Democratic Committee for so long, and I had been involved in recruiting candidates, I reached out to several qualified candidates, and they all said, no, thank you. So I ran. And that was an interesting campaign, and I had just an awful opponent. Some of you may recognize the name, Stefan Mihailu. So during that campaign, he gave me a new nickname, which I love, and I proudly wear today, Woke Hoak. It was a fun campaign, it was a challenging campaign, it was a tough campaign, and I ended up winning 52 to 48. And he had such a hate-filled message. His campaign literature had a picture of me and India Walton in front of a town hall engulfed in flames, and he accused me of trying to bring an infestation to the town of Hamburg. So we took care of Stefan, and I bring that up because in my fundraising for that, it was a local campaign, and we raised and spent $74,000 for that race. And in looking at the donors and where they came from, a third of those donors did not live in the town of Hamburg. I would say 20% of those donors I never met and may never meet. Some of them may be in this room, and if you did donate to my campaign, I'd love to shake your hand and thank you in person. But I bring that up because these candidates need help. And candidates need help even if you don't live in their community, and it makes a difference at the local level. So I've shared with you a lot of the work and the value of Older Americans Act programming. This hasn't typically been a partisan issue. But if you look at the programs that are slated to be cut, they are all the programs that have supported and helped bolster the Affordable Care Act. So certainly there's a strategy here. When we were in the gathering space, or the lounge there, I passed out these QR codes. I should have written down what this was. This is a QR code for the Association on Aging in New York. So it's a membership organization for offices like mine, and this is where we do our advocacy. And they've converted their landing page to a letter, an email that you can automatically send to members of Congress. It outlines the proposed cuts and the impacts of a reduction in Older Americans Act and other funding. So please, I'm sure you've already sent emails, letters, phone calls, but do it again. Do it again for Older Americans Act funding, and if you could post this on your social media to spread this further and wider, it's important. The director of the State Office for Aging predicts that older Americans are going to be facing 1930s level poverty if these cuts go through. So I'm also here to talk, I'll talk a little bit about Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and then would be happy to answer any questions. How am I doing on time? 5 more minutes. Okay. So I'm just going to hit some bullet points. Social Security. Social Security is, a lot of people use Social Security to scare people. There's a lot of rhetoric out there, but let me give you some facts. People talk about Social Security going broke. In 2022, there was a $2.8 trillion surplus in Social Security. People talk about Social Security being raided by the federal government. What they're really saying is that Social Security takes the money that they have and they invest it in treasury bonds. In 2022, that investment in treasury bonds yielded $66 billion for Social Security. That's the government raiding Social Security, investing in the safest investment vehicle to increase the amount of money we have to pay beneficiaries. It's simple math. When you have less people working and more people collecting, there's going to be a deficit. And the surplus is safe until 2034. If we don't do anything between 2034, then there's a problem. We'll have to reduce benefits by about 25%. There's a lot that we can do. And I'm sure you're all familiar with those options. You can play around with the age. You can play around with the limits. So it's really an easy fix, in my opinion. But everything else we're doing is a big distraction. So I'm afraid that we're going to limp along until we get to 2034 and have to do something drastic. But hopefully by then, we'll have the organization and capacity to do so. Medicare. Medicare is, we're not hearing a lot about Medicare. There's threats to privatize Medicare. Medicare is kind of half privatized right now through the Medicare Advantage plans. And folks kind of like those Medicare Advantage plans. It'll be without counseling that is fair counseling, unbiased counseling, it'll be harder to make those decisions, and that program is up for cut. And it needs some work, right? So these Medicare Advantage plans, they're private plans, and if you want to learn more, look up upcoding in Medicare Advantage. So these plans get paid more if you're sicker. So doctors and these plans have tried to code their patients as sicker than they really are. So that's an area where there actually is waste, fraud, and abuse that needs to be addressed. So that is an issue, but I don't suspect we're going to be hearing too much about Medicare this year anyways. And then Medicaid. Medicaid, as I said, You know, the rhetoric is that they're protecting traditional Medicaid, but Medicaid goes far beyond just doctor's offices and prescription drugs. There's a lot of folks that are on Medicaid programs that don't even know they're on Medicaid programs. The healthcare reforms that have been to New York State and across the country are funded by Medicaid. The Department of Senior Services receives hundreds of thousands of dollars in Medicaid dollars so that we can serve people now so they won't hit Medicaid down the road. So the impact is we need to look beyond the rhetoric of traditional Medicaid and see how it really impacts our folks. Happy to talk with anybody about that after this or to answer questions on any of those topics. So I realized I did not finish the thought. I mentioned some work that I'm doing with Kathleen. When I was town supervisor, I would have groups of all kinds asking me to present all kinds of resolutions, some of them that didn't make much sense. There's an opportunity here to take these issues. If Langworthy won't come to us, we can go to the actual town halls and ask our local representatives to pass a resolution saying they stand up for these programs, stand against these cuts. Kathleen has some examples, and I'd love to talk to you about that. If you would like to organize a group in your community to take these issues to your local elected officials, it can get the attention of Langworthy, it can get the attention of the media, and it can also educate the public about what's really going on. So it's been great to be here with you this morning. I'm going to be hanging out for a little bit, and I'd love to meet you and talk further. All right, folks, I'm happy to answer any questions that people have. I know we have one question in the queue right here. Yeah. So the Administration for Community, so the question is about the Administration for Community Living. What's going on with that? So the Administration for Community Living was, I believe, the intention was to bring together folks that worked with older adults and the agencies and organizations that worked with the disability community. There's a lot of commonalities and a lot of efficiencies that could be realized. And, you know, I'll share what I know. They eliminated ACL, and we didn't really know what that meant. The Older Americans Act funding that I spoke of, that is administered by ACL. It goes from ACL to the states to the counties. So they announced that ACL's done. We were hoping that meant that that's just the administrative function, and that appears to be the case. Our funding is intact. There's not much they can do about the funding right now, and they're not even trying to do. But what they originally told us was that the financial activities of ACL would be subsumed by another part of the federal government, and honestly, I don't even remember what that was because it changed 3 days later and that it was going to be somebody else, and now we don't know exactly how that's going to be organized. The funding is still flowing. We're not exactly sure how and through who, or if there's a uniform approach to that. I'll just add that this is the reality that we're operating under. If anybody followed the AmeriCorps issue, RSVP issue in Erie County, first they told us we couldn't do DEI. The county executive said, well, we're going to do it, and we're going to sue you, and we're going to keep the funding. And they gave up. They relented. Then we heard that they were eliminating AmeriCorps. which is that, okay, what exactly does that mean? They eliminated AmeriCorps, but the funding was still there. Then we got an email from AmeriCorps that's saying the funding's cut. You can't do anything, cease and desist, scrubbed all your materials from our logo, no more volunteer activity, and that was a shock. And then as we were looking to wind down some of those program activities, we checked the grant portal, and it was flush with the cash that we're supposed to get for the program. So we've started to draw down that funding, and then 2 days ago we get a letter from AmeriCorps that said, congratulations on your new grant, it's time to get going. So it's, I don't know, but if they keep putting the money in, we're going to keep spending it, but questions just like that are causing a great deal of confusion. That's a possibility, absolutely. One of the things that the Affordable Care Act did was build the capacity of community-based organizations. So some of that capacity will live on as a result of state and local funding, and it's also been a change in culture as well. And that culture change can and will live on, but those funding dynamics that you mentioned are a threat to that culture change and that capacity of the system. So there's some folks, so somebody who was at risk of long-term care placement but needed a ramp to get in and out of their house, and they got a ramp, they should be okay for a while. There are other folks who depend on daily assistance, daily programs like home-delivered meals. I'll be honest with you, the home-delivered meal funding specifically through the Older Americans Act, there's a slight increase over the 2023 levels. So it's not a cut, yay, but it's not really an increase when you look at, the cost of food and everything else. So those are the things that are going to cause people to return to institutional settings or be placed in institutional settings earlier than they otherwise would have to. But it's gonna bring additional costs to Medicaid. It's gonna bring additional strain to the healthcare system. And yeah, I don't see the opportunity for money like there is in the in the penitentiary system. But yes, there's a possibility.
I was wondering if you could talk about since Medicaid has probably cut by the federal, are people realizing that the cost would be put in New York State on all of us? It seems like that information is not getting out even for both sides to hear. I've heard $2,500 is possible for a new increase for every person if this happens. I don't understand why this isn't being publicized almost. Like this is the repercussions. If this happens, is if people who voted for realize that if you cut federal, we're going to be making it up in the states, and our taxes and everything else are going to go up. They don't understand government.
Yeah.
People that voted for Trump do not understand the government from federal to
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm just wondering, you know, have you been talking about that? Have you been hearing people that are more up in the government where you're at?
Yeah.
I mean, New York State, we just passed the budget, but how is the budget gonna be next year? All of us, Republicans and Democrats in the state government, man, are they gonna have a job to do?
Yeah. I really believe, and what I've heard from folks in Albany is that the state legislature is planning on reconvening this summer to readdress the budget. So we don't have to wait till next year to see a change. But yes, the folks that I work with at the county, at the state level, they are keenly aware of the impact of Medicaid cuts. Communicating that is difficult when you don't really have people's attention for a while. I follow a lot of the local electeds on social media, and the Republican supervisor of the town of West Seneca, Gary Dixon, he posted something like, well, look at all this waste. New York, this is what New York spends on Medicaid. This is what Texas spends on Medicaid. Huge difference. Well, there's a reason that many people in our community retire in their early to mid-60s and go to Texas and Florida, and then 20 years later they're coming back up here. It's because of Medicaid. They would not survive in Texas or Florida, but they have the opportunity to thrive in New York State. Yeah, so it's the folks that should be paying attention to that, they are paying attention to that, but communicating that to the general public, and until, cuts are really identified, because we're not hearing a lot about these plans out of the GOP, but we need to keep educating ourselves, so when we can become more focused in our advocacy, we're ready to do so.
I'd like to just add one more thing to say, to look at the undercurrents here, so about the movement towards institutionalization and how there's big money in there. But also, as you mentioned, now the aging population will be moving to 1930s level of poverty. That means they're going to be selling their homes like a fire sale. So all of these large real estate corporations now, the REITs, which are massive tax vehicles now for the wealthy, they gobble up real estate and then they rent it out at much higher rates. So then they have the real estate, then they change neighborhoods because of the ungodly rates that they charge, and then people are out of a home. And then one third thing is that there's a whole cadre of caregivers that have been trained over the last many years. Unpaid caregivers. There's a whole cadre. And those folks, they'll still continue to take care of their loved ones, but those were benefits to Medicaid and Medicare and any of the other funding streams that just won't be accessible any further, and that's going to play a role on the health care for the aging and disabled.
Yeah.
So where can a person go to stay informed? I mean, can we pick up the phone and say, hey, Mr. Hoak, how's it, I'm worried about blah, blah, blah. I mean, is there some agency, is there some place, is there some person that we can reach out to that really is kind of keeping their eye on the movements of these things?
Yeah. Specific to New York State and specific to those community-based interventions that I spoke of, agingny.org is the place to go. They'll have all the information there, plenty of opportunities to engage in advocacy and educate yourself. If you have specific questions for me, and if you're on Facebook, send me a Facebook message. That's probably the easiest and quickest way to get in touch with me. I'd be happy to talk about any of this stuff. There are other resources, but you got to keep in mind, so I worked for AARP for 5 years, and AARP has some great information on Social Security and Medicare, but When I was there, you know, AARP, our unofficial slogan was, if we have the people on the left and the right mad at us, then we're doing the right job. So they're more of a middle of the road, and they have 38 million members of AARP that are paying dues, and those numbers break like everybody else as far as left, right, and middle goes. So they're going to be a little bit more tempered in some of the things that they want to pick up. Statewide Senior Action Council is much more of a grassroots organization that does work throughout New York State, and they engage in a lot of advocacy and could likely provide you with information and resources.